maybe now people can understand the truth.
I started to educate myself, and I went to prisons, and I started to speak to so many incarcerated people who shared their stories with me, and I was heartbroken.
What happened that night is very well known, but so much hasn't been told.
Of course, these people deserve second chances.
Out of everything going on in the world right now, I don't know why Kim Kardashian is inserting herself into the Menendez brothers case. We all know that Kim has tried to become a lawyer, she's created a crime podcast, and she has worked to free people, which I actually really respect that. Although it's interesting which cases she decides to align herself with, nonetheless, I feel like our justice system could use some work. But when it comes to Menendez brothers, it seems like she's trying to put up a fight or at least get some press on this, claiming they are not monsters and they are kind, intelligent, and honest men. Now, I think this is fascinating because Kim is close to Ryan Murphy, who created this series. She was featured in one of his series, the AHS, and then on top of that, they have another production in the works right now with Netflix. So it's interesting that she's putting out this statement because I feel like it kind of goes against Ryan Murphy. He's been saying that the boys should be sending him flowers and giving him praise, while Kim is out here saying that these guys are not monsters, even though they did what they did. Though I do think that she has a point here that the case should be re-reviewed because their father, Jose, seems like he was actually a really terrible man. Kim met with Erik and Lyle last month at a prison near San Diego. Actually, my boyfriend went to that same prison and he did some videos on it if you guys go and check out his channel. She said that one of the wardens told her that they would feel comfortable having the Menendez brothers as neighbors. While Kim says Erik and Lyle, killing their father is not excusable, she says they are products of their experiences and are different people now in their 50s than they were over 35 years ago. It is interesting because these guys got married in prison, so if they were to get out, they would be with their families for the first time ever. I believe one of their wives actually has a daughter, so that would be interesting to see him come out and become like an automatic father, I guess. Kim points out the judge in the Menendez brothers' second trial in 1995 did not allow evidence that Jose allegedly did things to his sons. She says Erik and Lyle were denied a fair second trial and that the exclusion of crucial evidence denied Erik and Lyle the opportunity to fully present their case. Kim says the trial and punishment that these brothers received were more for a serial killer, not some boys that had their father constantly doing things like touching them. She adds, I don't believe that spending their entire natural lives incarcerated was the right punishment for this complex case. And again, back then, they didn't really see men as victims, and thank God we're in a different place now as society. But with Kimberly, who is so calculated, I do question what her motive is here. Does she actually want to free these brothers, or is this a way to get her name back into the press? I mean, with all the rumors of the Hulu show being canceled, I question how much longer this family has in the limelight.
I started to educate myself, and I went to prisons, and I started to speak to so many incarcerated people who shared their stories with me, and I was heartbroken. There were stories of people that are 14 and 15 years old that committed horrific crimes to someone's life, but you never really hear the backstory of it. And so now they're in their 30s and 40s and realizing that they have spent...
I'm like, who added a Lana Del Rey song onto this?
Half their life rehabilitating themselves. I thought, of course, these people deserve second chances. And I wanted to show people that ultimately we want to feel like our society is safe. And when we allow people to enter into society, back into society, and I really wanted people to feel and understand that they should have more empathy to people that are incarcerated because you really don't know their story.
Now, I can't hate on this because Kim speaks passionately when she's talking about this, which kind of shows me as a viewer that she does in fact care. And I do think that everyone kind of has that within them, especially when it comes to people who are unjustified, when they are treated a certain way, when they shouldn't, especially in a system that we're all participating in. Now, this author, Robert Rand, wrote a book, The Menendez Murders, which he found a letter in 2018 in which Erik sent to his cousin Andy 9 months before the incident, complaining about the essay from his father. At this point, Erik was only 17 years old when this was written, so he was a minor. This author writes, I found the letter in a dresser full of Andy's papers in 2018 when his mother, Marta, let me go through his room. She said if he could find anything, great, and I found that letter and realized it was a major piece of new evidence because it's evidence that he wrote back then that he was going through this by his father. So then maybe it's I guess, giving him more of a reason to then go and commit this crime. Another piece of evidence that was brought forward is actually from a kid that was in a band, the Muendo band, in which I believe Ricky Martin was a part of, and Jose had an obsession with one of the band members to the point where he did these horrible things to this kid as well. He also got a signed declaration from the witness stating that this happened. So not only was Jose doing this to his own kids, but other kids as well.
For the first time in 30 years, the killer Menendez brothers are telling their story together.
Maybe now people can understand the truth. Lyle was the only person that had ever protected me. What happened that night is very well known, but so much hasn't been told.
Erik wrote, "I've been trying to avoid Dad. It's still happening." Many of their supporters are now calling for their convictions to be vacated. Today, Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon said that his office is considering requests to resentence the brothers. A court hearing will be held on November 29th.
We have not decided on an outcome. We are reviewing the information.
We're going to hear a lot more about this case at the end of November. I want to hear what you guys think of it in the comments below. Do you think they should be freed? Part of me wants to go more on the, yeah, free them, just because I can't imagine what they went through learning about Jose. But I really want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Though it seems like this is actually a theme when it comes to Kim Kardashian, associating herself with these, I guess, felons. You guys know that she met with Gypsy Rose Blanchard for their show, The Kardashians. They went to talk about making improvements to the prison system, and which Gypsy was pretty familiar with. Now, I don't know if the Menendez case was filmed for the show, that meeting. I assume it was. I can't imagine Kim just going there on her own time without making a big deal of it. I mean, maybe it's just for the press tour she's been doing afterwards. But here's a throwback clip of her talking to Gypsy.
I can't even begin to even act like I understand what you've been through. I really have no idea, you know.
Wow, you must admit, Gypsy had her glow up. Can we put up a new picture of her from the Instagram? Because she's looking good nowadays. Good for Gyp.
You're here.
I know it's like a controversial subject. I think when people want to help people that were involved in something so violent, but I do believe
it's definitely controversial, but I do think that, like, especially with mental health, we're getting more and more aware of the complex, like, situations that these people are in. Again, the Menendez brothers probably should have blown their parents' head off. But there's also not a world where it's okay for Jose to continue to do that to them. And I've been watching the show, so I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's pretty dark.
people should have second chances in life. And I take her entire background into consideration. It's really crazy not to.
Gypsy told Kim that she feels regret over her mother's death, saying, "Now looking back on it, I'm like, I could have done things a lot differently, and it would have ended with my mother being in prison. Did she deserve prison? Yes." Gypsy also talks about how she wasn't qualified for therapy, which is so insane to me. I mean, if we're going to talk about throwing money to the prison system, at least give them therapy, especially when they're someone like Gypsy. Kim said, "You'd think that they would want to set you up and give you all the tools that you need to be mentally stable and to be healed as possible to come home to society." But I think we're all aware that prisons aren't set up to send people home. They're set up to keep them in there and then to receive funding. It's kind of like the school system. Like, every student that they have there, the state will then give them funding for it. I believe the same with prison systems. Like, the more people they have there, the more bodies they can count, then the more they can charge the state for money for them. And is that money even used for the prisoners? No. I have such a hard time with eating food. I can't imagine going to prison and eating the food there. Like, I will never commit a crime because I truly could. I mean, one, I don't want to commit a crime, but also two, that type of food there is so nasty. Shout out to the prisoners. I don't know if they've got the phones or the YouTubes. I know sometimes they've got tablets, but if you are out there, I'm so sorry for the food and everything else, but especially the food and the beans and whatever they are serving you. I've heard that Diddy doesn't even want to eat it. Diddy's not even eating it, so I guess he's in his Ozempic era. But anyways, I could not imagine the food. Just a little side note. And I hear it also makes you gain a lot of weight too, because they give you a lot of carby things. I just like meat. I like to eat a lot of meat. So then if I were to eat, there would be rice, some cold macaroni and cheese, some beans. What else? What else is there? Yeah. If you guys have been to jail before, or prison before, leave a comment below. I'm not trying to get into your business, but how is the food? Now that Gypsy is out of prison, she wants to use her experience to better society and bring awareness to this condition, which I actually think she really can do that, because it is so niche. I had never really heard of it before, and she's such a huge case behind it. So I think that would be good for her. I don't know if she can go and work a normal job. I don't think she wants to. She doesn't seem like the type.
And did you tell your dad?
I didn't, because I didn't even know his phone number.
Yeah.
My mom literally had put a block on our relationship from him and I, and she created a fake Facebook account as me talking to him. Now looking back on it, I'm like, I could have done things a lot differently.
That is so scary to imagine your mom like so keen on keeping you away from your father. I do have a lot of empathy for her, just because I can imagine that.
And it would have ended with my mother being in prison. Did she deserve prison? Yes.
So I can imagine that you still really miss your mom. You could
It's
feel
so complicated. Like,
it's so complicated.
it really is.
Since we're here talking about Kim, let's go ahead and go over some recent updates. You guys know, I think if I cover something, I want to then go and like do the extra step. Like, let's see what else is going on in their world. I already have you here, and I'm so thankful that you guys are here tuning in to my video. So let's talk about how her brand is being compared to Temu. We hear all this talk about Shein and things, and if you guys don't know Temu, it's pretty similar. The headline reads, Kim Kardashian's $4 billion Skims empire is no better than Temu. Remake, a global advocacy group, gave the $4 billion clothing giant a 0 score in its 2024 accountability report, which assesses a brand's transparency, wages, well-being of employees, environmental impact, and sustainability goals. The 0 placed Skims, dead last alongside Temu, has been accused of forced labor and selling products deemed unsafe to human health. Okay, so the forced labor already effed up. Like, Kim, what are you doing? And then secondly, I've heard this before with Shein, where sometimes their clothing dyes will have chemicals that can cause cancer. We did a deep dive on Shein, so definitely go and check out that video if you have not seen it before. The report blasted Kim's company for its carbon emissions, use of materials harmful to health and the environment, and unfair working conditions. She says nobody wants to work anymore. Well, you've got like slave labor going on in Southeast Asia, so I don't think it's even a want anymore. It's like a forcefulness. Even before the assessment was released in March, Kim's company was under fire for unethical working conditions in a factory in Myanmar. It looks like they were accused of inhumane working rates, wage theft, and gender-based harassment and violence over some Skims. Now, we're not actually sure if she's still working with this company that has been accused of really horrific things, but Skims actually provides zero transparency about their supply chain or anything else. So they're trying to stay under the radar, probably because they're sketchy.
What I hate about Skims. This is all the info they have on sustainability. If their standards are legal compliance, that's bad news. Also, they only work with people that share their values of transparency. Good on You gives them their lowest brand rating because of the lack of transparency. Kim Kardashian was sued for unpaid wages and other ethical issues. The vast majority of their products are completely synthetic, which contributes to pollution in many forms. The original name of the brand was Kimono, but anyway. They do, however, have biodegradable packaging.
Now, back in 2022, Kim was accused of greenwashing after the company falsely labeled its packaging as plastic-free. I guess greenwashing is essentially saying that your products are recyclable when they are not. The report shows that Skims garments are primarily made from materials that directly contribute to environmental pollution, deforestation, and greenhouse gas emissions. I wonder what's worse, like her Skims or the travel that the Kardashians go through with all the private jets and things, because I know those are really bad for the environment as well. The employees claimed that Kim never paid on time, wouldn't allow for meal breaks, and fired one on the spot for asking about overtime. And actually, it looks like Skims is even worse than Temu. I mean, look up here. We've actually got some brands like Target. It looks like they're pretty reputable. And then going down, Abercrombie, we've got Amazon, and then way down there we've got Temu and Skims, right up with Fashion Nova.
I've been completely bamboozled because everyone always talks about how Skims is so great and like worth the money, like great quality. So I ordered myself a little red fits everybody bodysuit that I've heard so many great things on. The quality on this is awful. I could get a better bodysuit at Target. The fabric is so thin and it's see-through, and like this is not a color that should be see-through on me. I feel bamboozled, and I went to try to return it and it goes, your item is not eligible for return. Your item is not eligible for me to wear out without getting arrested. I'm just kind of annoyed because I thought this was supposed to be high quality.
I love her take there. It's like, oh, you can't return it. Well, I can't even go out in this. Like, why sell it? It reminds me of when Kylie did her swimwear brand, and like the little like part that covers your, you know, your Gigi, whatever, was so skinny that all the girls were like, my thing is not going to fit into this little, it was like smaller than the remote. It was like this. It's like a little stripe. Like who could fit into that? Right now, it looks like Kris Jenner is freaking out about money, and she slashed Corey Gamble's allowance to $10,000 a month. Not Corey with an allowance, but the source says that she's freaking out about her bank balance shrinking and had to make cuts somewhere, and certainly not her stash of expensive wine. So she's slashing Corey's allowance. It looks like Corey was taking several $100,000 a month in a salary and spending a ton on credit cards. So now he has to ask for permission to use Kris's premium credit cards and no more cash advances. And it looks like she's going to make him pay for his own transportation as well. It's pretty insulting for a guy who was used to getting everything he wanted, from driving Kris's luxury cars to buying gold chains on a whim, but things are different now. So I wonder if he will actually stick around. In my opinion, I feel like Corey has always given me, like, you know, gold digger vibes. Like he's just going after them for the money. Like, is he actually even attracted to Kris Jenner? Beautiful woman, but he's also like 10 years younger. This report notes that one of the reasons why Kris is stressed out is because their reality show, The Kardashians, might be over with. A source told Life and Style on August 22nd the Kardashians could be on its way out the door. The source said that Kris wants the show to go on forever, but the economic realities of the streaming world are creeping up on her whether she likes it or not. And it looks like her daughters don't really want to participate in it either, even though it's probably their best bet to stay relevant over the next decade. I mean, if I was Kris, I'd probably try to hold out for a couple more years until the kids grow up, and then she'll probably just start putting them on the series and exploiting them. We all know that Kendall, Kylie, they don't want to be on the show. One insider said that Kim has found this new passion for acting, so she's got a bunch of shooting days, so, you know, she's not really keen on staying here either. I watched the last season of The Kardashians, and it was so boring that if they don't come back with something big in this next season, I don't know who would be tuning in. At least I won't be, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment below what you guys think, and I'll see you in a new one soon. Bye, guys.